the municipalities are responsible for the special planning in our country. So they do all the special planning, and they have to have an acceptance from the county authorities, but they are responsible for doing all the general plan and everything. So therefore it's easy for us. We have 8 municipalities. In that group there are 8 people, and it's very important when they are doing the general plan that we treat the water in a similar way between the municipality. Yeah. So this we are doing a new general plan every 4 or 5 years, or each. So when they are doing a new general plan, we help them with that, with water issues and water-related issues. We have an agriculture and forestry group. It's a very important group because forestry is very important in our region. Then we use the Federation of Swedish Farmers, for instance, the Forestry Council, forestry companies, and also we're working a lot with education to this forest organization and the foresters, how they shall work with heavy machineries in the forest to prevent a leakage of mercury, for instance, and to prevent the damage of the rivers and so on from freshwater pearl mussels and so on. So that's a very important group. We also have a lower level as well. These watercourse groups, it's groups of people along a watercourse, maybe 20 persons or around the lake, going together and get the information, and we support them for them to take care of their own small river basin or their small part of the river themselves, to get them to understand the importance of this river, to get them to understand that there are values in the river, like brown trout, freshwater pearl mussels, otters, and everything like that. When they get this understanding themselves, they protect it much better than any authority, because they adapt the water, and they adapt the watercourse or the lake themselves, and then they treat it like their own children. Yeah, that's an experience we've got. So we are working a lot with that, but it takes a lot of time. We don't have resources to do everything, but we are struggling with it, actually. Another one, water service. It's more the monitoring of the river, where we have the municipalities again and the communication lines used in the municipality, and we have also some companies who have an impact of the water for the monitoring. Water management group. It's also a very important group because we are responsible for all the regulation of the water level and the water flow in all the river basin. We alert the rescue service team when we see that there will be a problem with flooding, if it's going to be a lot of rain, because we have the overview knowledge about the situation, and then we can alert all the rescue service and so on. We also have a group working for heavy disaster, where the military, the police, the rescue service, the municipalities, the social welfare people in that group. So, and we train for the situation when it comes. So we know exactly who to call, what to do when disaster strikes, when we get the 100-year flow somewhere. We actually had a disastrous storm 5 years ago. Nearly all the forest blew down in Sweden, and you couldn't get to people somewhere. All the electrical lines were closed, all the telephone was closed, everything was damaged. People couldn't get out to get people who were sick and so on to get to the hospital. So there we learned a lot of this disaster, take care of disaster. We use that now. Yes, fish and tourism. So we have a lot of lakes, and the fishing and it's very important. So we are working to make better conditions for the fish and for the fishermen. Well, so this is the way we are working, and we have the staff and the board in the middle, and also we communicate, cooperate within the working groups as well. And all the information from the working groups goes to the board or to the staff, and all the information back again. So that's the way we are created, how we are working, and it's okay for us. It's functioning. So the monitoring, it's very important. We have done a lot of working everywhere here. The monitoring program has cost about 100,000 euro annual, and all the data is shown on our website. Everything is public. So this is an example of watercolors, for instance. Red is not good at all. Blue is good. We have actually a lot of problem with brown water. Too humid water, that's a problem in the southern part of Sweden. And we don't exactly know why. It has been increasing, so it's double for 10, 15 years. Sometimes it's like coffee. So it's a problem for us. Water regulation management. We have floodgates, and we are working with them. We manage them ourselves and get paid from Outmill to do that. To do that, we have a system to measure the water flow and the water levels in the lake. It's easy with a solar panel, small computer, and we have a pressure probe in the water, and it calculates the cubic meter per second. And we have a server at the office, so we always know the water level and the water flow, and therefore we can regulate the lakes in a much more professional way when we know how much water will come into the lake, how much water will come out, and we know the level. So actually we have used that a lot because of the snow melting. We empty the lakes and we empty the dams to get volume for the water from the snow every year, so we can reduce the impact of the flooding there. Yeah, sport fishing again. Actually, this is world record for fly fishing for sea trout taking in our river basin. We are building fishways around the obstacles, like hydroelectric power plants. This is an example of that. And also we support this fly fishing and fishing in the river.
Is this you on the picture?
Huh?
Is this you with a fish on the picture?
No, unfortunately, not me. I would like to. No. Countryside development, again, as I mentioned, we are working with sport fishing entrepreneurs, visiting targets and so on to get them to cooperate. We also are training them to take care of customers in the best way. When they do that, they come back. The tourists come back. Otherwise, they don't. This biological restoration we are working with as consultants, we want the rivers, the small rivers, to look like that. Before in our country, there were not so many roads, and the people living there for a couple of hundred years ago, they used the rivers to transport timbers and so on from the forest They took away all the stones and so on, debris, and during the winter time when the water froze, they used it to transport the timber. So now we are putting all these stones and debris back to the river to make better conditions for fish and other biological things in the water. This is not popular everywhere, but we are working with it. We try to do it, but it depends where. Information to schools is enormously important to get awareness to people. Because if we get the children to understand these things, they get it back home to their parents and said, you are not going to do that and that. And then the parents are learning as well. So this is very important, and it also takes a lot of time, but we are working with it. Short information about this. We had a project to implement the Water Framework Directive, and we wrote a guidebook and an good example catalog about the implementation of Water Framework Directive. We cooperated with Spain, England, Germany, and Latvia. It's interesting because in England, the same size of the river basin as in Sweden, but there I think it's 3 million people living. It's Manchester and Liverpool. But we have the same problem, we have the same issues, the same questions. It's just a matter of scale. So that was very good cooperation, actually. We have been working with, we have a lot of old sins in Sweden. I suppose you have that as well. We have remediated one lake from PCB. They use self-copying paper in the paper mill back in the process, and the self-copying paper contained PCB. And they saw that the seals and other species in the Baltic Sea died, and they couldn't understand why. And they investigated and saw, from that river mouth there is a lot of PCB, and they get upstreams, and they ended up in downstream technique. So that is remediated now. Also, this is mercury. It's also paper mill. They use mercury in the process to clean the tubes in the industry. So it was a lot of mercury in that lake, and the fish had very high level of mercury. So we remediated that for about $19 million, 260,000 cubic meter paper fiber out of the lake. So, and we were responsible for all the environmental protection control and so on. So this is a picture of one measuring station we had. It was impossible to get there with cars and so on, so we had to use helicopter. But we managed to, we had an alert system, so if there was a too high level of something, we had it on a cell phone. We directly go out to the company and say stop, and we managed. We also have a problem with what's the time? It's okay. Okay. Low pH level in the lakes because of impact of acid rain mostly from Europe, Germany, Denmark, England, and so on. So we have to lime our lake, otherwise we have too low pH level, and we are responsible for that in the river basin as well.